Hello, we're going to start on the tutorial for the construction of the first Crafology box kit. And so if you bought the Christmas one, I will be doing it with the lighter, with the brown chipboard. If you bought your Halloween, then that's going to be done with your black chipboard, but they're made identical. So instead of doing a video for each one, I went this way. And there'll be just a couple of differences in your kits. Halloween, of course, has your black cardstock. And then we did include the white and the brown cardstock in this for your gingerbread house. So what we want to do is first start by cutting the peak. And that is what we're going to do by hand. I'm going to show you how that's done. Sorry, I've got some crazy flies still driving me nuts. So you want to take your 6x9 pieces of chipboard. And what we're doing is we're looking for the center. So we just want to mark it at 3. Then you have 2 6x6.5 pieces of your chipboard. These are your sides. And I'm laying it down with the 6.5 coming out that way. It's 6 inches from here to there. What I'm wanting to do is you kind of want to just draw a line. It won't be seen. That's where our peak needs to start. We need these two to be perfect. So if you have to, pick it up like I just did and draw your line. We're going to do the same thing with this other side. That's at 3 inches. So see, it sticks over it a little bit. Putting these two together, because if we don't, when you go to put this together, your sides won't match up, and it's a little harder to fix. If that happens, I will kind of watch for that when I get to that point to show you if you have that problem where you can cut. We're going to start by moving this. You're going to want your ruler, a straight edge. And you're going to lay your ruler down from that 3-inch to your line. Now, here's the trick when you're doing this. Hold your finger here and swing your ruler up. So when your blade comes down, your blade will come right where that line is. You don't want to go below it, or it's going to make it so it's too short for your sides. So make sure you're basically sitting on the top of it. Only thing about August out here, flies are just terrible, and so there basically goes my coffee. Now, so they're identical. You can now take this piece off. You're going to lay it down, but you're going to notice something. It doesn't really fit perfect unless you turn it the other way. You want to lay it down, but when you do, let me show you. See, mine sticks out too far over here. So there we go. Now make sure you turn it. I want it to stick out over that edge. But I want my line here to match. So you can always keep your chipboard handy if you need to match up where it's supposed to meet. So this is really a fun project, even for a beginner, because most of you know and follow me. I hadn't been doing a lot of chipboard projects, but I've made myself step out of that norm, and I'm really glad I did, because I'm loving them. So we'll be having more here in the future. Also, you'll see where that point is probably shorter than the one you just cut. So you just move your ruler to match that point. Don't try to go through with your first cut. And there it is. There we go. Throw those away. Now I'm going to grab this piece. Turn that over. Now I'm just going to use it as my template. That way they'll both match. Easy as pie. Just line things up there. And also, don't worry if these peaks don't come out exactly perfect, because the way we put the roof on with our strips, it gives us, it hides some of our, if we do any boo-boos. And also, if these two aren't exactly perfect, the two peaked pieces, it's okay. See, mine aren't quite perfect, but they're close enough. And let's go ahead and set those aside. And go ahead and grab one of your 12 by 12 pieces of the brown cardstock. And we are going to score all the way down at 1/2 inch. So just 1/2, 1, 1.5, 2, 2.5, all the way down. Whoops, sometimes I like this little tool that comes with your score mat, because it is formatted to you know, go into your score lines, but it's so little. I wish they'd make it bigger. There, so I have to grab it just right. I use glue. I don't use score tape when putting my houses together, and I've now made 8 of them. I've made a ton of them just to make them fit. They're now doll houses for my granddaughter. She's taken them all. They were my samples to get this right. And glue really is your best friend, I think, because you have time to alter. Now, on this one, we're going to actually cut this in half. We're going to use some of them long and some short. So what you do is you'll see this score line will fit in your scoreboard. They're not going to be perfect. I get some pieces that aren't, but it's okay. Then we're going to cut this piece in half at 6. So that's the size of our house sizes. Now we're going to put this in our scoreboard at the 1 inch. 1 inch is right there, or you can work from the other side. And you're just going to cut them in half. Well, cut, you know, the 2 score lines, not in half. So just take it to 1 inch. And even if it's a little off, it's okay. They're perfectly fine. We have some longer pieces, so we don't want to cut up the other sheets until we're sure. And cut your second piece. One off. So when I do that, I use those little bit that I messed up on, I use them on the inside. And we're ready. Okay, we're going to start with a peak. These are the sides of our house. is going to come the front and another one on the side. So it doesn't matter which one you start. Just grab one of your strips and a bone folder. And I'm going to match it right there to the top. And then if it's too long, I cut it off at the bottom. But the goal is that where that point is where you're going to start your house. Of course. It never happens except for when you're filming. There we go. I do put a light amount right there in the crease. And I like to, this side does not have adhesive, and I like to burnish it. Okay? Because when you burnish it, it's going to fold over, see, so much nicer, and you're going to have that nice clean edge. Now the bottom's long, and I just cut that off straight across. Don't really angle anything, because I don't like to have, I like it to be like flush to match when I put, we're going to be doing a lot of other covering with our strips. When you angle it, you take the chance of maybe something not fitting correctly. Now you want to remember, this is now 6 inches. We've got one that's 6.5, so it needs to be the same height. I do use the table and get a hold on it for a few minutes. Okay, there's our first one. Now we're going to do the inside. So when we do the inside, you want to hold this up and set that right inside of there. And right along the edge. So it'll smush inside there. So holding your house up, even with the top here. Bone folder is your best tool here, especially if you have one like this. Go right in the crease. Off, just a little bit hanging over. And we're going to do the same thing to the second piece. Push that right over and burnish it. And I think burnishing it does, it's the difference between if you've ever made a box and you get those wrinkly edges, it really does make a difference. What it does for me when I'm making it. Now see, this is going to attach to this side. Our adhesive. And you want to make sure you're even top and bottom. And don't worry if your strip is a little long. Mine's a little long right there. And we're just going to cut that off. And I'm burnishing from the inside. See how I went this way? If it's too long, don't cut down. Scissors here and turn. Straight across and turn. And then you'll be fine. Bring your house up, keeping it even right there. And like I said, you can use your score tape. One thing I like about the art glitter glue, once it's put together, it's put together. I had dropped the Halloween house, even with the dome on the side, and it did not break. Nothing came loose. And the glue, too, will get down in between your chipboard there and really hold it tight. Now we just have the other side to do. Oh, there is one thing also. Let's stop here for just a moment. Grab yourself a piece of printer paper. I meant to have you do this first, and I'm sorry. So what we're going to do, we're going to lay our box down. Yes, we should have done this first. Put it over here on the edge. You'll know where to cut it. It's going to be a template that you can use for your pattern paper. Now, that's going to be a little big, but when you go to cut it, it was 6 inches. So let's go ahead and put this into, and make sure it fits, our cutter at 6 inches. That's the nice thing, we can use our cutter. And with this, I stay right on my pencil line. Well, I wish the Fiskars would cut our cardstock as smooth as it cuts this thin paper. Now when we do our pattern paper, see, it's going to fit perfectly. But we want it to be just a hair shorter. So let's go ahead and trim like just a 1/16 of an inch off of each side. So on your Fiskars, you have 6. And that little mark before the 6th, that's your 16th, and then that one is your 8th. So at first cut, I did it at the 16th, then I did it at the 5 7/8. And we do want to cut off just a little bit on the bottom, just so it's in the groove there. And when we cut our pattern paper, now we will have that 1/8 of an inch border. And now we can trim up. It's better to trim this up now using our little sample here. If you haven't, done a lot of these, because once you cut your pattern paper, if you make a mistake, that's a lot of paper to make a mistake on. And here's what I do. So that's about my 1/8 of an inch around. So see, my bottom is the longer part, so that's fine. I'm going to leave it. This will be my pattern. When we use it, we will adjust it to the bottom to fit. But you want to put an F on this side for front, because it will matter with your pattern paper, because see, now this doesn't fit as well. And I put a front and a back, because that means when I turn this over, that back is going to fit on the inside, or you can put outside and inside. So my front is going to fit here. Well, actually, when you change sides, so you'll have to mark it again, and that's fine. Just so you remember, and we'll put that aside. It'll be easier once we're doing it. But now you have a basic template to go through, and you don't have to worry about being perfect, because we do have construction strips that will hide it. So that's not a problem. I don't want you to think, oh my gosh, this is going to be so hard, because it's not. I did it. And if I can do it, anybody can do it. Once again, just match it to that pointed area. We'll push it down so it just grabs hold. And also, I'll show you. At this point, you could paper this if you want. I did paper the inside of mine. You could paper this because we have our strips down, but we really can't do this side till everything's on. So we have to slip our paper down through, but it's not a big chore. So let's turn this upside down. And use your workspace as your leveler. Using your workspace, you'll be able to push things down where they belong. And it does get a little chunky, so it's a little harder to work on. Just let that fall. See, when we burnished it, now we have a nice tight edge instead of a bubbly edge. That's why I love to burnish it. Now let's do our inside. And it gets a little more difficult to get our hand in there, but not too bad. So just start it on one side, bring this up. And I know right now it's hard to see, but I'm just repeating with my bone folder. That's why this one is great. We do have them in the store. I try to keep these in stock because they are a great tool, the way they've shaped all their edges. Okay, let's turn it over. And like I said, don't worry about this being too perfect at the bottom. We will be putting a strip all along the edge here. So just get off what you can. Grab another strip. I'm actually going to start on this side because so I'm moving this to the outside so I can get in there. And so your artisan cardstock, you don't have to worry about it cracking. That's what's so nice. And that's why I'm enjoying the chipboard projects where I didn't before, because I never knew if it was going to crack, split, or be a mess. And so I just gave up after a couple, and now I don't have to worry about that. Set our house up. Make sure it's good and straight. Now we need to put one on the inside. See, that's my little guy that got cut a little short, but it's just fine. This does get a little messy now. Let's push that in like we've been doing. When you're using the black chipboard, if you're making the house, the haunted house, with the black chipboard, I should have mentioned, keep some wet wipes that are wet near you so you can wipe your hands. Even though you're going to cover the glue on black, there's not a lot we can do. It'll get on there, and even though it dries clear, you just seem to notice it on the black chipboard. But like I said, you do cover it with paper. But I did find I got a little messy there. And voila, there's your house. Just like that. So what we need to do now, because we want to add up, we want to put paper, but let's go ahead. We need to line the bottom of our house. And I'm going to start this way. These are 6 inches, and they work kind of on the side, but they don't work. And that's where we wanted the longer ones. And I'm going to cut this strip down to 6.5. And I can trim them for the sides. And again, we're going to cut them at 1 inch. And we'll cut them down anywhere else we use them. So I have my peaks to the left and right. And I'm not cutting my edges or corners. So we'll use our 6 inches there. I'm just checking these fits. Yeah, the glue gets a little messy. Or the person doing the gluing. Now, I need to turn that upside down. Because you want to burnish that edge. You can take the edge of your bone folder, there we go, right up on there, and push it against that chipboard. And then be a little more gentle on this side. Then I'll take my 6-inch one for the 6-inch side. And yeah, I need to clean my bottle. You do have to clean the tip kind of often. And it is good if you have the wet ones that are wet, that you can just lay on top. Then they can be cleaning as you're working. Get that on there so it gets a hold for a moment. Push it against that chipboard, just like when we do our mini album covers. Sorry, I forgot to turn the phone down. Don't worry about that on the bottoms. You don't see it when you wrap, when we put our paper on. Okay, that's my longer one. See how much nicer? The wet wipe really is your friend. It comes in handy for so many things. Okay, push it down so it kind of grabs hold. Now with artisan cardstock, because that's what's in your kit, don't be afraid. I am pushing hard. You're not going to hurt this cardstock. Basically, that should have pushed it right down. Pretty cool, isn't it? Okay, we need to do the top. And when we're doing the top, this is a little bit different. We need that second piece. And we're going to only score half of it. And I have one that's basically been cut almost to 6, but you can cut it right at 6 by 12. And then the same thing. We need to score it down. All the 1/2 inches until we get to 6. It's just easier right now with some of the longer strips when we do the roof parts. We'll put this on, and then we do need to paper. I like to paper because then I think it is a little bit easier when not fighting with the roof. So basically you have 6 strips. Now, grabbing your roof and one of your 6 or 12-inch pieces. Well, it feels like there's more than one there. Show you what we're going to do. This is going to sit on that edge, and then it will bend. So with this sitting here on the roof, do not cut the score line, just cut maybe one layer at a time. You're just making a little cut there. See, it's going to bend down. Now I'll show you. Take this off. And that's what you have. So laying this down, this is going to want to go back behind. It's almost like a little saw that we just made. What happens is it makes it so it's a very nice corner there. And I'm just using my box as my guide. So let me show you this again. So with this here, and it was sticking out, we made a cut straight up. Then we took it off and you trim the nailing. Not touching the right hand side, but the left side, you're just going to now cut a little like V out of there. This down on your box. And you'll feel this go, see it goes behind. And then it will fit perfectly. Now when we glued this down though, we're only going to glue one side. So we're going to actually be bending this back over, and it's going to attach the roof. And we want the finished side here, so when it comes backwards, now the roof will have a place to sit. So we're only going to adhesive to this front side. I'm a messy gluer, and it's okay because it still works. So, holding this down, before it's down though. Let's get this underneath. Remember, there's no glue on the back. Even though we're going to be bending it back the other way, we're still going to burnish it this way. It's actually burnishing the other side. See how I pulled it? If you have to, excuse me, if you have to pull it so that it's right up on the edge of your chipboard, because you want it to be nice and tight. Okay, we're going to let that dry. Let's turn it over and let's do this side. We're going to do the exact same thing. Now, putting my strip down, and then if you need a little help, grab your clothespins, if you're a clothespin user. Okay. See where it meets? Use your chipboard as your guide, straight up, straight up. Be careful though of that score line. This is the right hand side, this is the left hand side. Just make a little snip in the center to the angle, to the center, so that you leave a tiny piece intact. Now if you cut that off, you can use another strip, or you can just glue them separately, but I like to have them together. Use your chipboard as a guide, and then snip. Still too long, let's trim it again. Okay, add our adhesive to the front. I got it. There we go. Adhesive to the front. Put the right side underneath there. Turn it upside down. Let's hold it. You want it to be tight. Pull it over that angle. Grab it though, there. You don't want the glue to hold it down. Now it's going to go backwards. Let's do these sides. And those are going to be your 6.5. Again, you're only going to glue the front because it's going to be part of the strips that are going to hold your roof on. Glue on the front. Mine looks messy. I got too much glue on that one. Okay. Those are nice and ready. Now we're going to go ahead and mat. Take that up. I guess it's a little more, too much height there. We're going to do the matting for our box. Oh, don't throw away any of your strips. You'll find that we'll be using some of them as we're going. For the mats, what you want to do is you want to get the 2 pieces of cardstock that have Santa Claus. You're going to cut one piece, the first piece. You're going to cut it straight down. And remember, it's 6 1/2. So you need to cut these 6 3/8. And watch your pattern. So it's 6 3/8 by 5 7/8. And you want 2 of these. Now, depending on what you want to put on the inside, so I'm just using the red cardstock. So for the inside, so let me show you how we did this. Now, the only reason I'm doing the inside is when you take the lid off, it does show. So it's 6 3/8 wide. But when you cut it this way, you'll get both pieces for the inside panels that you need. 5 7/8. And again at 5 7/8. And then the choice is yours. You really don't see up into the house. So you can choose if you want to just cover this. And you'll have to go this way on the sides. If you want to just go to there, you're not going to really see this even when you look up inside. So that's totally up to you. And we did use the rest of the red on the house. So if you want to do the piece, that's where I'm going to use the striped piece. And you need to cut 2 of them. And I'm going to do the inside with you, so if you want to. I'm cutting 5 7/8, and I'm leaving it just like that, and 5 7/8. We don't have the exact length because it's going from that peak, and it's better just to do it this way so that you have your paper. Now grab this and grab your box. Now on mine, see, I'm having Santa Claus on the side instead of the dome, like on the Halloween. I'm having Santa, but actually he's going, I believe, on this side. So you can decide what side you want Santa Claus to be on. But what you need to do is make sure when you lay this down, because the B and the F is a mental picture for me. I'm not worried about this length. I'm worried just about my peak. So we're going to take care of that in a minute. Making sure that that's where I want it to be. Or, you know, turn your paper over. You definitely will have one side that fits better. It's B. Now, remember the side you're working on. I'm going to put an X. That means that's the side I'm working on at this moment. Lay your paper down and trace your peak. Now, don't worry about this length because before I tell you that, no, we do want to worry about it. So what I need to do is erase this. I'm going to move it up just a hair because it's better to cut from the bottom if there's a boo-boo. So I'm going to move it up just a ½ inch. Now let's go side to side. Then we'll worry about the length. Now this time when I put it in the cutter, I want to cut to the inside of that score line, so I get rid of, not score line, pencil mark, so we get rid of it. And to the inside. Now we can lay this down on the box. And we can also see if it fits better on the other side. Oh, yeah, don't try and match your bottom, just matching my sides. Because sometimes after you cut it, it's really weird. It might look better over on the other side, or it might look better on this side. So that's totally your call. I'm going to put him on the other side. I'm sure it's just the way I cut. So I'm going to take about a 1/16 of an inch off the bottom. And I'm using the chocolate ink. Because I'm kind of staying with the brown, but also red would look awesome if you like to use colored inks for distressing. I like to put this down as we go. If I don't, my pieces get all mixed up when they're a different shape like this. And I'm starting up here at the top. Again, making sure you just leave that about 1/8 of an inch border. We'll turn it upside down to burnish it. Now we can do the other side of our box the same way that we just did the. Now for the opposite side, I'm using the F, and it's already marked because I didn't end up using it. So for the opposite side, I'm doing the writing just like before. And let me show you another trick. I should have shown this before. So you can put your paper down about where you want it. Just trying to think of everything that might be easier if you're a beginner. And then you just bend it down to get your point. Holding the paper to get your length. And that'll give you kind of a mark. And I just need to move it up a hair to meet that mark, to get my length. Hopefully that will work. Let's try it. We're going to trace the house. The nice thing is there's a lot of things to cover up on here that you don't have to worry about those little boo-boos. reflection's a little harder to see. My pencil mark. And we'll do the same thing here. Always just go by your pencil mark. Don't go by that point on your paper. Keep your cutter close by. Awesome fit. I love it when it fits. Now, let me show you this piece. So this is the outside here, but if we were to put this on the inside, see the printing then goes in the back. And so we know this fits perfect. Oh, we should have done it to the other one. That's okay. So let's go ahead with this facing upwards, because we want this now to be the front. And yes, we should have done this with the other one, but it's okay. We'll get her done. Oops, I don't want to waste that. Whoa, this one's really hard to see. So let's see how well this fits. And it fits very well. So let me see how well it's going to fit over here. It's great. So let's go ahead and cut this one. Go a little darker this time so I can see it. Then we have all the pieces and parts we need, whoops, for the house. We can get that put together. Like I said, you're going to do this the exact same way for the Halloween or the Christmas. And for the Halloween, of course, you can look at the picture. I'm going to leave that on the inside because I know that fits on that side. And that one fits there. So all we're doing right now is basically wallpapering our house. Let's go ahead with our 6 3/8 by 5 7/8, excuse me, front pieces. And let's see. I'm just doing the bottom on these. I said you don't really see them, so it is up to you, but I at least want to do the bottoms. And your template, now you can use that template if you use it to cut your chipboard, if you ever make another one. And I hope you will, or I hope you don't think this was too hard, because trust me, I'm a beginner on chipboard. If I can do it, you can. You basically, though, have to make a new one each time you build your house, because it's going to be different. Because we're humans and we hand cut. And set those guys aside. Start here with the side. Darn it, I always grab that wet one. Always, I swear, every show. Let's go ahead and put this little guy in since it wants to fall out. Did it again. So let's just do the other side since we're at it. And I do apologize. I know it's kind of hard on camera with this one, just because of the inside here. And so I will now do just the red. And Wilbur brought down the other dog's dog dish. And he's taking the empty one and leaving his full one there. What a silly puppy. Uh-oh. There we go. Okay, there's my inside. Get down. I'm out of bones. I've been giving him bones while I film. Fully bones, and they've been great, but the darn things are so expensive. I don't know why, but he can't have any more because I don't have any, but it really keeps him quiet during filming. Let's turn it over and burnish. See, I cut mine too short for some reason, but you don't see that. That's where the roof sits. So if you have anything like that, don't fret about it. Just checking my sizing. Okay, so there is the house. Love him. Now we want to work on our roof. So you'll want to grab those two pieces that are 5.5 by 8.5. And we're going to start with those remaining strips that we have, or because it's 5.5 by 8.5. So I'm going to just use my 6-inch strips and go along the long sides first. We don't need to do it up here yet. We're just going to go along that one edge. I lay my chipboard here so I can measure where my glue is going. Remember to burnish that. Push it right up against that chipboard. That right off. Okay, that off. Now the sides. So you can grab one of your shorter ones, and we'll want to do both ends. And then burnish it good. Open it. Trim what we don't need. Those little ones we can throw away. Just making sure nothing's hanging over the edge. If it is, you can trim just a hair. Just like your albums, don't trim too much. You don't want a hole there. And there it is. Remember, if you have to trim it, use your chipboard, just like on your albums. You don't want to cut too much off and have a hole. Okay, that is the first piece of your roof. Now, so that, you don't want to be on camera forever here with me, do your second piece. And then we will continue with the construction so that we'll put our roof together and on the house. I have both pieces now with the brown on the side. So before we put this together, you have the 2 pieces of white. Actually, I have more than that, but go ahead and grab one, and you're going to cut it at 8 3/8, and then you need to cut 2 pieces at 5 3/8. This is for the underside of the roof. I'm using this paper behind me because it's white, and if you don't, you might pick up some stuff. Trust me, I did on the last one, and that's why I had to restart this. So make sure your surface is clean. You don't want to get anything on the white paper. And get this down. This is way you don't have to worry about putting any strips. We just do this underside so that you don't have to try and put strips along the roof. Now, a couple of things. If you're doing it, sorry, I got to get this out. If you're doing the Halloween, you're going to do black cardstock. But this way, it'll go great with the snowy looking roof. That was the oddest thing. I'm filming, my screen went away, and okay. So what I did is I put my strips on. So let me grab, well, so you can see it better. This is the one I did, and I happened to get it all dirty. So I used brown on this one, and on this one I used white. And you're going to do it the exact same way. You just want to add glue on the inside here. And don't worry about getting a pitch. Just leave that little bit of space like we did all around the house. Okay. Then just lay it down again and put your other one on. And it might be a little cattywampus, and that's fine because when you bend it, it'll be perfect. Just fold your strip in half like we've been doing and add it on there. Now grab your house. And what I've done is I had done, like I said, the camera went off. I just took these little edges together and glued them. And then I had pinned it so that it wouldn't come undone right there. Because it makes it easier when these guys meet and you've glued it. So remove this. Doesn't matter which way's front, which way's back, just means bottom. Now, one thing about this, you have a 6.5 inch house this way. Your roof's 8.5, so we have an inch on each side. So what I'm going to do, and I want my paper again because this is where, let me just use this because I had made a mess on the other one. It picked up some black ink. So I'm going to put this down on my scoreboard. So we have an inch on each side. So 7.5. And that gives me an idea of my overhang. And don't worry, we're going to cover this and we can erase it. So now turning my house, there you go. You're going to attach one side of the roof. You'll see now you'll be able to fix your pitch and where it fits. This pencil mark is going to basically line up with the sides of your house. And that will give you an inch on each side. Now, the only thing is we are going to have to kind of work from the inside, and you'll see why when you tip this upside down. There's your strips. Let's turn this back over. So on this first half, we're just going to add our adhesive. And don't let this part make you nervous. Now with the side that has my 1 inch, I'm matching it with the edges of my house. I'm just going to slide it down on there until it fits. I'm going to hold my house and turn it upside down. I'm going to push it down. So now that side is where I can get in there and push down my strips. Okay. Let's add adhesive now to these construction strips. And let's just fold our house up, rotate it over. And now we can get in and push those strips down. Now, if you want to cover the inside, you could. It's like 6.5 by, I don't want to tell you wrong, 4.5. You could cover that, but really, you lift your house up. You don't see up in there, and it still looks okay. And I didn't do the white construction strips because I didn't like the way they showed on my other one on these sides, the white on the house, but you can do that on your next one if you like. And of course, if you're doing the haunted house, it's all black in there, so you don't have this different look. But I think the brown and white look great together. So now I'm just burnishing it. We're not going to be in a hurry at this point because we don't want to rush it because we want it to hold. And so now is also the time to check if you have any loose areas. And I do. Check all your corners. Stand your house up, and I can erase. I don't really need to, but I am going to be using white. Now see, your overhangs are all covered. Now you've got to be excited because it's starting to look like your house. For the two pieces that we're going to put together for the pitch on a roof, you'll want your white cardstock, and these are 1 1/4 inch. So I'm just going to take this 12-inch piece, and we want a 1/2 inch on each side. Half is going to hook, and then we're going to actually wrap this. And now we're going to wrap it a little different. So I'm going to cut this actually at 3 1/4. There's going to be some extra, but we're going to be able to trim it. So I'm kind of going over this in my head because I've done this now a couple of times, and I think this is going to be so much easier for everybody. What I'm going to do at the bottom, I'm going to go ahead and score that 1/2 inch. That's what's going to attach this to the roof. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to use this as my edge. So what's going to happen, this is going to sit backwards, and that'll sit just directly down on the house. I'm going to score 1/2 inch on my short side. You don't have to. But now I know to sit this right in there because I'm going to bend that over. But not a big deal for this side. For me, it's just a guide to see where we're at. And then I'm actually going to cut this off when we get to that point. So let's also, you're going to want your glue. I'm just going to use the art glue to attach the chipboard to the paper. Set that down in the corner. Keep losing my favorite scoring tool. Now we just want to set that about 1/8 of an inch. We don't need that 1/4 inch spacing because we want these to come together. Make sure they are lined up here at the bottom. I'm going to cut this off, leaving about the 1/2 inch. We'll need our white to also fill that in. So I'm going to now, just like we would make our albums, fold that over our chipboard. Let's see where it touches. It's almost perfect. Whoops, I did not turn off. There we go, the noise. Because we want it to sit and then have that mostly covered. So I'm going to put it in my cutter and just cut off about 1/8 of an inch to start. And 1/8 of an inch was perfect for what I just did. You're going to die when you see my house. So I had to delete a bunch of videos. But this is what mine now looks like. But it's okay because this is all going to get covered. Yours will have a nice pretty brown edge. Mine does not. So I had a design flaw that I went in because I had videotaped it and it just didn't work. So off it went. Those 2 pieces of chipboard that we just laid and you wrapped, well, the video wasn't on. So you're just going to go ahead and glue that down. Fold in your 1/2 inches on the side, just like you would when you fold your chipboard. When you wrap your chipboard for an album, the bottom is open because actually this will cover it when we bring our pieces together. Okay, so when we bring our pieces together, they'll fit beautifully in there. But just add some adhesive. Actually, it's better to lay it down. You can kind of play with the pitch. I want to bring mine in a little bit more. And at this point, you need to make a decision. The Halloween, of course, is in black. We are going to mat it. Do you want the inside to be pattern paper, or do you want it just to be the roofing all the way through? Because we're going to be putting it down. And you can do the pattern paper, but we need to do that right now. And you probably have plenty of scraps for that. So look into your scraps and see what you have and what you want to use. See, and that will fit on this piece. So it can have the holly. I think I'm going to go with red and white. That's perfect. Now, one thing you want to make sure that you don't get your pencil marks. Let me bring this out. You know, because it is white. And then I'm just going to draw my triangle. For the pitch. It's going to sit on the inside. And you'll see it's very forgiving. It fits great. And this way it affords you that time so that you can trim. Then I want to turn it over, kind of mark. And actually, I'm just going to use my scissors because we're going to be covering that with the roof, so it doesn't have to be perfectly straight. Okay. So one thing you want to do is we're going to glue this down into here. And that's why we have these 1/2-inch pieces. They not only serve as the anchor to attach to our roof, but they're also what holds down the pattern paper if you choose. If not, you can go ahead and do your roofing on the inside. Make sure that's dry. And then actually, if you want to trim it all up, because you'll just trim off those little 1/2-inch pieces like so. This is not that hard to mat. So you can either do it now or you can do it after. Totally up to you. If you're still kind of waiting to see what scraps you have and what you want to use in the full look of your house. But I know that I'm going to go ahead and put on the inside, for sure, the red. And let's see what we have left. It's kind of a, see what we have left in scraps thing. And we want 1 1/8, because these are 1 1/4. And you should have plenty of scraps. And these are 3 1/2, so we'll go 3 3/8. I have that nice white border. And I do want to ink the edges. Boy, I'm noisy. With the chocolate. And just put those two down. For the top, going with the scallopy border, I cut so that my scallops were showing. And then I'll put them this way. Then a light inking of the brown. Let me get that volume turned off so you don't have to listen to that. There's so many things nowadays on our computers we got to turn off, make sure they're not there. Something on my paper. Okay. I said my roof looks terrible because I just kind of ripped everything off. So if you're wondering, what I did was I actually had a scallop all the way around, but it's not going to work, and it really wasn't strong enough. So I took it off. But this isn't going to show. So when I put it out for decorations, only you will know. But we do want that finished edge, so I just don't want anything over there. And if you ever have to do that, don't throw your project away, because there's always a way to cover up. Okay, decide where that wants to go. But to give you kind of a hint here, you're going to want at least an inch. And I'm going to show you these, because this is going to be the roof pieces I'm using. And I want that at the bottom. Okay. And I want it to cover there. And on the Halloween one, I'll show you, I did a little border at the bottom when I was done. Placing, come down a little bit. A little overhang because of my little mistake. Then we have that really cute little alcove. And on this one, on your Christmas, you did get that extra window, so you can put that in there if you like, or you can use it on the side of your house. There we go. Now, to make our strips, like I said, I'd already made this and did the video. These are the two, you should have two more left of your cardstock, either black or white. And I chose to do the same look on my house. Now, before you do crinkle these, if you want to use a scallop punch and then just lay them straight and flat, you can do that. Totally, totally up to you. I like to do it this way, and then I cut it because it gives it more of a shingle effect. And I just got in fact, we just got them in, the Wink of Stella in white. And I really haven't used Wink of Stella. This is like my first time. I just never ventured out. So I'm going to use the white Wink of Stella because it's going to be all glittery. And I'm going to kind of brush my edges at the end. You can also do that. We have black, so if you want to put that on the house, or you can do the snow, the liquid snow you can buy in the jars at Hobby Lobby. And it is helpful on this one if you do have your clothespins. So you'll want a couple of them, or two. It just makes it easier as we're putting the strips down. So you're going to take your 12 by 1 inch strip, and you're just going to start by pushing it down. If you have a crimper works good too. And then you can just kind of wad it up even more. So just kind of pushes out, just push it down. You can score them if you want to go that extreme. I think it made it look too perfect. And then I just kind of went through my hands and broke the fibers up. So I had this roughly look. Now when we all get it all put together, it's going to look great, I promise. And then on these sides, I'll show you, because we'll kind of, as we're going, they are a little difficult, but what we're going to do is, so I don't have glue on here, you fold it up on the side, kind of get your angle. You can even just use your finger now because you want it to be straight. Get that angle, and then we will cut each one there and butt it up. It's really not hard. I'm going to start at this end. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to place it here. I'm going to have mine hang over just a hair. And I'm going to have to, well, I'll fix it after if I decide it doesn't look great. You can kind of flatten out just the top part. Don't do this whole thing because you want that ruffly look. And I am going to go just about to the end. Now this is where your clothespin is going to be so helpful. Let it overhang. But you really can't sit there and hold that, right? And now I'll show you here what's happened. I'm going to hold it there using my scissors and using the chipboard as my scissor base. I'm going to put that down. And don't worry if it starts pushing up. You really don't want the whole thing to be attached because you want some of this ruffly look. I'll put that aside for a second. This is that little border strip I used because you'll see mine isn't meeting perfectly right there. So I will put a little border strip there when we're all finished, and that will cover that up. So I'm just going to go through and push it down. If it pushes up, that's fine. That's going to give you that ruffle effect as we go. Next one. Again, you lay it down and just do the top part to kind of flatten that surface. Keep these little pieces and parts. Now, this is going to overlap. You decide how much you want of an overlap. I'm overlapping them about 3/8 of an inch. This is where clothespins. And make sure you get it right on that edge, especially if you've got one that looks like mine. Turn it to the side as you can see. I'm going to push it up to the house. And I have a bone folder. That was the Tim Holtz. And it's a heavy duty bone folder. And do you think I could find it? No. So I'm going to use one of these. This is my flower tool. Use whatever you like. It's going to help push it down in there a little bit better. So I get the shade. Cut that off. And see, this is, you are going to be using some pieces and parts because this isn't perfect. I'll show you how we fit that at the end. We'll go back through and fill in our spots. Start at that end since we know it fits perfect. And we can always trim this edge without a problem. Through as it'll go. We won't worry about fitting these little guys in until later because we have to do a little bit of slicing. Oh, there we go. Trying to, you know, keep things pretty even. Make sure you fold up the excess there. That's going to help so you can see better. Use your bone folder or that little tool. And this is kind of what I should have done. Let's see if this will work. No, I don't want to do that because it's going to put it on the inside and look terrible. Okay. I'd rather fix these little edges, which are really easy to fix. And whether you're doing the black for the Halloween house or the white, this is exactly how I did both of them. Again, trying to keep things about the same. You can turn this over also. And you can wait and do all your trimming after, but it really is helpful to put your clothespin right there. And this one you can use again, and it's already cut for us because we already basically angled it for that side, so how convenient is that? And if it's not perfect, don't worry, because the next one will cover it. But you can just trim it anywhere that you need, and it's gonna pretty much fit. Let me show you. So the next one, when it comes up over, can help hide that, or you can just recut it. And for the sake of still doing it to show you, I'll just recut it. Again, I'm not measuring the exact distance of all of these. You can. The whole idea that is that it looks like kind of like snow. So I got my mark. If it's too short, that's okay. We'll just pull it that way. Remember, don't go past the chipboard when you're cutting it, because that's your guide as to how long it should be. And then you can trim as needed. And if you are comfortable doing this and you just want to go ahead and turn off the camera, I'm going to continue working in real time. I'm not going to, of course, I never do speed up my videos. I'm just going to continue, like I said, working at it with you. Then you do have some room underneath there if you did like I didn't just now. Sticking up too much, you can kind of guide it underneath the little roof here. And then gently trim. My knife blade's going like underneath. There we go. Like I said, don't worry if it's crooked. Don't worry, because we're going to be cutting. We're going to be roughing it up. Our next one. The back side is smooth sailing because you don't have any pitches to work around. Now, if you don't care for this too, you can just cover it with paper. Or when you get to the back. Oops, might help if I cut my length a little bit. The main thing on this is to find what works for you, what you're comfortable doing with it. It will really take life when we do the rest of the trimming and cutting. And did get that just a little bit high. And yes, it's crooked, and that's okay. You'll see it doesn't cause a problem. Seen some pieces aren't even down, but your next piece not only takes care of that, but it also pooches it up and gives it that dimensional look. And then your glue gives it the moisture it needs to, like, so you can kind of form it and fit it. It gets a little bit easier and easier. Now this one, let me show what we're going to do. I'm going to put this down. Pull it just a little bit. And you can mark it with a pencil, or you can just work it by hand, because you are going to need to cut it out like so, and then just fit it on top. Just push it down until it goes It goes on that point, and it should fit just fine. So on this, because I don't want this to move now, I'm going to leave one side pinned shut. Basically just get my glue down there. I'll go across here this time. Mostly let's just push that down on the point. I'm going to get a little adhesive down inside of there. And that you just want to hold for a moment. Kind of messy, I know. I have these three right here. And I can just trim them right off. Now it gets easy. Now bring this one all the way, to the very top. The back side, we won't be doing on camera. You'll do the exact same thing, except for Everything's just straight across, so you don't have to worry about any pitches. You've got a complete canvas that's just nice and straight for you to go through and add all your pieces. So we will put these on. See, and I really don't want them all super flat. You know, you want it to look like the kind of like the old roof where it had some of those tiles sticking up. I'm just holding that last one in place. Okay, the art glitter glue is really good at drying fast. Now I'm going to take my scissors. I love this part. Now I'm just reaching up in there. Again, I'm not measuring. I'm keeping them just as far as my scissor will go until I feel, you know, it won't go any further. So it's about a 1/2 inch to 3/4 of an inch, depending on where you cut. Now, you can see somewhat where we cut, or you can raise it up. So on the next row, you want to stagger that. You just kind of want to go in between, pretty much, if you can, those first cuts. Next row, we'll kind of do the same. Let's come over here. Like I said, don't worry about perfection. Not necessary, unless that's you. Then it's a-okay. Yep, and I'm taking my scissors in at an angle because that's the way my roof is pointing. Just don't go so high you cut it off, but you can't really go any higher because of the glue. So, of course, a smaller pair of scissors is going to be your friend here. Now, I like to take mine upside down. You won't see that. Right now I can see the chipboard under there, but I'll show you. I'm just doing this to get it bent up. That one just was not ready. pinch up if you need, which I did. Oh, that's right. In your kits, your roof pieces are white. I mean, I had you. No, it's black on the haunted house. I'm sorry. Okay, now across here, that's where we have that border piece I was talking about. Oh, here. And this is the piece from there. So I'm just going to cut a little piece that'll fit underneath that one scallop. And I'm going to get the scallop piece. Your pitch is going to be a little different than mine. Mine is about, come out 1/8 of an inch. Mine's 4 3/8. But I just want the scallopy part, and I only need 1/2 of an inch. We'll do it. You can even hand cut those scallops if you like. You just kind of have to work it because of your shingles. Now in your Christmas, in your Halloween, you have a witch. I don't know, can you see her okay? In your buttons. And I did use the glossy accents, or you can use the crystal glaze, something that will, you're going to have to hold it there for a minute. So I wouldn't put it on until you're done working. And I'm not going to put these on until we're done working, but I want to show you some things you could do here, like on those ends, because you've got plenty of buttons to play with. So it's a gingerbread house, right? So we want some gingerbread-like embellishments. I won't put them on, and of course you might want them to match. So go through your little buttons and see what you have to match. That will kind of seal off. Seal off your ends. Okay, go ahead and do the back side of your house, and we'll be back to build the base. And I'll do mine. We need to move and make some space because we're going to do the base. So if you're doing the black one, you should have, or the Halloween, should have another sheet of cardstock left, and you're going to cut 2 pieces. They're going to be 5 by 12. And then you need these 4 pieces. You have 2 of them that is 6 inches long, and 2 that are 5 and 5/8, and they're by 3 inches. you have the 2 pieces of chipboard, and here's those little 3-inch. So I'm going to lay these down. What we're going to do is we're going to go long, short, long, and then the short. So go ahead and number these. 1, 2, 3, and 4. That way you know which order they go in. So it should be a long, short, like that. The 2 pieces that are the exact same size, 8.5 by 8.5, we are going to put them together. And then I'm using the red Spectrum paper, which you have that extra piece in there. And that's what we're going to wrap this with. Now, if you don't like the red, that's okay. You can use any other color. You can use the brown. So the choice is yours. I did the red for the bottom. And I'm going to wrap it. So you just need a little bit. I need to cut this off. I also need to clean up my bathroom. There's so much stuff. Ouch. That blade is so sharp. Forget about that. Sorry, I don't want to turn the camera off. So I'm just going to throw a Band-Aid on my fresh new little blade cut. So that can do its thing. And we're just going to center this. It's a little extra, but that is okay. Then we can go ahead and fold up just like we do our mini album. You'll notice this is quite a bit thicker, and you're not using, well, I'm not using the Artisan, so I'm not going to quite be so hard on those edges. And I'll do the opposite end. Because this is the Spectrum, and it's different, of course, than your Artisan. So, yes, it will crack. So I don't want to be too harsh on it, but once you get it on here, you'll be fine. Okay, let's cut our squares out. And these ones I'll just angle a little bit. And then the bottom, I will cut a piece of whatever's left over. Basically, I've already made the album, so I can look at my scraps, and I just put that on the bottom. Or depending on where you're setting this, maybe you want to put felt or fabric on the bottom so it doesn't scratch the table, or just the paper, or you can also put your feet, feet if you want. All right, now I'm going to go ahead and burnish this a little bit better from this side. Okay. Adhesive right up next to your chipboard. Wilbur's down there by the garbage. I always have to, yep, he's taking my leftover paper from the roof. The crinkled ones. Oh, a little fiber. That won't hurt him at least. And it's good quality paper, right? See how much thicker it is? Because we wanted a nice sturdy base. That's why we're doubling that for this house. Now for the base piece, the back, I already, like I said, have some scraps. I have some extras. See what we've got. Because we want to be able to cut it about 8 3/8 by 8 3/8. Wilbur's gotten a hold of something. So I'm going to cut this to 8 3/8 by 8 3/8. Wilbur dumped his toy box over so you might hear it. Like I said, this is the back side. It could be the front side if you want to have a little bit of extra red showing and then your cute little pattern that would match the house if you're using this one. Yeah, I kind of haven't touched my tools in just a little bit because we were gone and on vacation and retreats. There we go. And I can't find some of my stuff. So for me, that's the bottom. Like I said, these can be put on feet. So we can just set this aside. Now with the pieces that we cut that are 5 by 12 that you'll cut to wrap those pieces of chipboard, we'll need to attach these together. And I like to use my art glue. That dog is just being crazy today. So we will lay these out at 1, 2. I think we're going to have to put in that other piece we are. And this, you should have this for a scrap mine measures 9. It was from our hinges. I'm going to cut that down to 5. You don't need that full 12-inch piece. Just need that little extra. Now, one thing to remember, the bottom, I'm going to keep that inch, just like I do on a mini album. The reason is I want it to be wider when I attach this down to the book. And then we don't need to leave a quarter inch between our chipboards because we want this to fold up nicely. Just like we did that little piece on the roof. And I want to make sure I have an inch from the left. That's going to be our connector. There it is. This is what I'm missing. Okay, now number 2, when we put it together, you're just going to kind of, you'll see when you bend it up. So it's about 1/8 of an inch. And if you have 1/8 of an inch score tape, you definitely can use that. And you can also, if you're using the quilting ruler, so my 1/8 of an inch is just right there. That's what I love about this ruler. Or once again, fold up your paper to make sure there's room. The nice thing with glue, you'll notice it will push it. And number 4. That time I held it so it wouldn't move. And I'm going to cut 1/4 of an inch off of the end. Now, one thing we need to remember is this bottom. We do not want to wrap that on our chipboard. Darn desk, no matter how many times I clean it. In white paper, good thing we're covering this. This is a newer mat. What we're going to do here is we want to cut off, we still need to push that up on the chipboard, both ends. Oh, I thought I did that one. I guess not. Okay. Now we can go ahead and cut out these corners. just like on a mini album. And this end here with number 4, I'm going to go ahead and wrap. So go ahead and check your edges. This end is our connector. We do not want to do anything with that, but we do want to wrap the top. So let's check. Let me show you. Turn this over. Make sure it's going to look nice. I already did that one. Wait, Wilbur, get down. Oh my goodness. Jumping up in the windowsill. It's been really good until I'm not paying attention. Yeah, for the construction of this, I'm just using all of my art glue because it's just, you know, smaller. Trim this just a little bit more in. Now, while my glue is still wet, I'm going to go ahead and get my pieces folded up just so it will hold in there, hold nicely. Yeah, don't look at that mess. Sometimes this white paper picks up every single speck of dirt. Thing will be covered. So now you can see how our box comes together for our house. Now what we need to do down here, I like to take these pieces, basically, don't worry about that because it's going to hold down. Kind of fold it back if you need to get a crease. You don't have to if you don't want to. I'm just letting you know that way if you are not sure. Otherwise, just cut a wedge right out, kind of in between here. On each one. Now, we're going to let that dry completely, but actually that's what's going to connect together to make your box. Now we want to match. So each piece, so you have 2 pieces that are 5 5/8, 2 that are 6, and they're 2 7/8. And And I'm going to use this one for the inside, and I'm going to use the coffee for the outside with the hot cocoa, because it's kind of like, you know, you're going into the house and you're coming in from cold, and there's the hot cocoa mugs. So you could even put some hot cocoa, different things like that. That would be really cute in there with the album. I'm just going to cut this at 5 7/8. And then 2 7/8. And then I'll trim the others up for the 2 shorter sides. Okay, I'm not going to make it. And so I'm going to go ahead and get to it. 5 7/8. And then we're going to, whatever you're going to use for the inside. But you'll see, since 2 are longer, oh, we're going to cover this with a whole piece. I'm just going to do the outside right now. So I need 2 that are 5 1/2 and 2 5 7/8. There we go. Then we need our inside piece. I'm cutting it just a little wider than 2 7/8. You want 2 of them. Now I am going to use score tape on this. It's going to go so much faster. And then when we lay this down, because it's going to hit in the seam right there, we need to cut some of this one off. I'm going to take 1 inch off. Oh, and on the inside, you can use the brown cardstock. I should have mentioned that. The thing is, I just happened to have this here, and I just messed that up. How on earth did I manage that? Don't cut off 1 inch. Ignore what I just said. This is what we're going to do. You really don't want that in the seam. So I am going to use the piece that I cut 1 inch off of. We'll get that out of the seam. And let's cut 1 inch off of this one. And then we're going to cut another piece. That second one we cut. 2. I cut mine at 3. We'll just lay that over. I can't figure out why that didn't happen before. Okay, we're not going to try and make that neat in the middle. We're just going to take that 3-inch piece and we're going to put it down first. That way it is totally covered with our pattern paper, and then it's not even in the way. Now this piece I'm just going to use my score tape. I mean my art glue. I know, funny looking. Wait a minute, maybe I will just use the thing is it's in these seams. I don't really like the way the glue sits. So sorry, I know this is really noisy. Actually, this is a new... Wow, I'm just batting a million today, aren't I? Okay, we're fine. It's a new size. We don't have it in the store yet. We probably will. And this is it's 5/8 of an inch. And it's nice. I know I'll be using it for some things. It is a little on the expensive side, so I'll still use my glue mostly. And my sheets, I love my score tape sheets. Smooth that, there we go. Smooth that out. Double checking that I won't hit any seams. Yeah, I'm picking up everything here. Okay. And it's not going to bend. You don't want it to, because you want it to be nice and tight for your box. And let's go ahead and ink the edges if you're inking. And we'll put these down and hope that I cover everything I've gotten on here. Then we will be, we need to cut the pieces that are going to go on the inside also. They're going to be the same size. 2 of them are 2 7/8 by 5 7/8 matting. 2 at 5.5 by 2 7/8. Now, here's the thing. You do not want to do this end. So the end with the tab, let's go ahead and miter that a little bit more. I'm mitering both of them in quite a bit. See, you could have it meet like this if you want. And then it's on the inside, or you can have it on the outside and it wraps around. I am going to do it that way. I think it's more sturdy than doing it on the inside. I like it to be on the outside, so my chipboard is next to each other and it's stopped there. So this one, boy, Wilbur's having a cow or something. So do not mat this one. Wow, he's really barking up a storm. Kind of funny. Something has really scared him. And I'll be honest with you, I meant to use the brown on the inside because you don't have this white. I just realized, I looked over at the kit. You have the brown. And then that was the one thing we posted. You'll want extra of because you use it from your album. So I'll make a note there in the description too. Actually, we're already into this. Why am I telling you that? You've already read the description. Sorry. But, you know, when you go on vacation, you come back. It takes a few minutes to get back into the swing of things. Isn't that funny? Oh. And we really only did that vacation. My husband's family is in New Hampshire. We needed to see him. It's been 4 years. It's too long. The older we get, we realize we need to see each other. Okay, we don't want to do this one because we're going to wrap it, but we can do all of them on the inside. I chose for my inside kind of a snowy look. So I'm taking the blue. And I like that it's not directional, but yes, it's one of your cut aparts. So we'll just go 5 7/8. Probably 2 7/8 4 times. The reason my coffee or cocoa mugs, it was a piece that we had already used on something. Oh, we still need to cut 2 of them down to 5.5. And then you will want a piece that we mat the inside of our box to hide the pieces we use to connect it together. Get the other side on this so I don't smear brown everywhere. Now you can really hear him. So, there we go. Okay. And we want to bring this together. One thing, go ahead and decide. I usually put the two ends on top of. They're kind of like all the same, but it don't matter. We'll glue those after we glue this side. We want to wait because that's how we'll straighten it out if we need to. So we're going to put our adhesive right here, and then we put it right there along the chipboard. Remember how we didn't wrap that, so there's some chipboard showing? Now we can set it back down. Now we can kind of keep it square. There we go. And then our last piece goes right on top. Now I'm going to open my edges here, add my adhesive so I can see it better this way. Okay, now we'll keep it nice and square. And grab the base. And then you want to decide where you want it. Okay, let me grab the house. I set it behind me. The house, it really doesn't matter. But just to kind of show you, if you want to put your house, I know you can't really see the edges here. I'm going to grab my ruler. There we go. So your house measures about 6 1/8. So you have a little over an inch. Gosh, we just don't have the room on our desk, do we? So we have like 1 1/4 inches. See what happens with the fronts. It's about 1 1/4 inches if you want it totally square. To be honest with you, I just eyeball it. But that is your, totally up to you. If you want to go ahead and measure all the way around so that you have it exactly perfect. But once I eyeball it, so this does take our time. What I'm going to do is with a pencil, I'll show you. I'm going to draw out that square. And that way, because we're going to mount that, I'm able to line it up. On my square. Then I can get a good look too. Is that what I want? Is that the distance between the front and the back? Then you can just kind of sit your house on there centered. And that will give you somewhat of an idea, because I do want a little more in the front. So that looks perfect. Our square. We can kind of center it up. No need to erase. You're going to cut a piece that's going to go into the center. So I'll use this other half. And again, it measures. I'm going to cut a piece at 6 by 5 5/8. So you're going to want to make sure a couple of things. That I don't know. I was going to tell you something, but it just totally left me. I'm going to cut it just a little longer and a little wider, just to make sure. Because it's always easy to take off, not so easy to put back on. And as I'm doing it, I just put it in the groove, take off a tiny bit at a time. Nope. Because we want a pretty good edge-to-edge fit. Almost. So it's coming out to be a little over 5 5/8. There we go. And there your house slides beautifully onto the box. Now we can decorate. In the Halloween, you will have your black windows and you have the acrylic. So you have 4 windows because we double them. It also gives a little dimension, and 2 doors. And then you have the 3 pieces of your acrylic, and they have been recut for you because this way they're perfectly cut. And what we're going to do is we're going to attach those, and then you have your fence pieces. One thing I'm going to show you is in this one, the Halloween paper, I used that swirly one, swirly with the bats, and I cut out a cat, and that was a sticker of a spider. So you can use any of that to put Wilbur's into something. He had a tube of toothpaste. On mine, I'm going to put the blue kind of color behind it. And then your door, you do have that square. So it looks like it's kind of, there's lights inside, but it's still the twinkly. So what we want to do is we do want to trace. And I'm using the acrylic, and I'm going to use a finer point. You can do it on the back side so that it doesn't show. And then also for my windows, these were not pre-cut for you because we didn't know, I didn't know if you wanted to use the same that I'm using. And it's really simple to cut these. The only difference is you want to cut right on the line or to the outside, not the inside. That dog is really pushing it. Sorry, he was chewing on the wall. We have throw cans. I just don't have one down here with me, so I had to throw my art glitter glue bottle. It didn't hit him. No dog was hurt in the throwing of the glue bottle. But I'm not paying attention to him today very much because I've been filming, and he's just like a toddler. That's what happens when you get a beagle. Now we're going to lay it down and make sure it fits. And just trim up where you need. It doesn't have to be a perfect fit. We just want it to fit on the edge so we can be able to tape it down, but we don't want anything to show. So on this one, I'll go on the inside a little bit of our pencil marks. We should be just fine. Oh, that's my door. So I'll do that again inside of my pencil mark instead of the outside. Oh, you know what? How adorable. See? Look at this. It turned out perfect. So she's going to go in that window. And that was from the back side with the cut aparts. Oh. So, see, you just never know. That's adorable. I have another scrap, and well, it's not a scrap. And I want to see something here. I should have checked. Well, this has some of his hat, so it looks like he's peeking in the Christmas tree. So I'm going to go with that. So check your size, which ones you want to use. And the door, oh, let's see. We've got some toys there. So I think I'm going to do that. I'm going to go ahead and go with these pieces on the inside, so you just never know how it may turn out with these cut aparts. They're really fun to use. It's kind of like a puzzle. Now what I'm looking for is we don't want anything sticking over our edges. Okay. And I like to use my 1/8 of an inch score tape. Your acrylic likes to stick to score tape a lot better than it does art glitter glue. And we need to put down the acrylic first on the door. And your 1/8 of an inch is perfect. And you don't have to do every single area. I'm just going to go on these cross pieces like so. Then my acrylic. Now you do want this to go on pretty straight. So do the top corners first and then it will lay down nice. It's made to fit this like exact. You may have to trim it depending on how you lay it. Like I just got it off a little bit, but you just trim that with your scissors. And the next piece, see that's Santa Claus's eyes, so he's kind of peeking in there. The next piece will go on, and then we're going to actually put another door on the top. So check this to see if you need to trim it anywhere. And if you're okay, let's repeat with our score tape. I don't know what he's getting into, but he's sure finding stuff. I can hear it. Okay, once again, we want to get this pretty straight so nothing sticks over the edges. And it goes this way. And yes, you'll notice mine's upside down. So we're okay. It's enough abstract, it doesn't really show. And then this is going to go on the back. That just gives it some extra height. Don't put your adhesive there if you're using the wet adhesive. If you do, chances are it's going to get smeared all over. And because we're using the wet adhesive, this is a little easier and they're going to fit exactly. See, it adds some thickness there. Then we have to repeat. Our layers. Now you've got a rounded top, so don't worry about trying to get it around there. I'm just going to go down these pieces like this. Excuse me, because what's going to happen is when we glue things together, it'll sandwich them just fine. Then you don't have to sit there and try to form your score tape into a circle. So acrylic first. Pattern paper next. Now on this one I'm just going to put it down the middle. The whole idea behind this was to make this as easy as possible so that you'll enjoy doing this. Also, make sure you're not upside down like I was on the door, to make this as easy as possible so that you enjoyed the process and wanted to make more. Isn't that cute? Just love it. Now we're going to go ahead and add our adhesive. On those little areas. And then if things just aren't perfect, trim them off. Let's do the same thing. And then next, the decorative one. Whoops, I should have put that under. There we go. Make sure we're not. Well, you really can't put this on upside down, can you? Oh, goodness. Oh, at least it landed. Okay, upright. Then you're going to notice on mine, if you see any of the roof, no worry, your roof is white that you're receiving. So your cards or chipboard. So our door goes down there. Then decide, where you want your windows. and then your fence. So I want my fence to be pretty much the same as the door. And yeah, you do have to trim it. It's long. That's the right. And you'll notice there is a right and a wrong side. Then you can decide where you want everything to go. So I'm going to really start with the fence. What I'm going to do is just line that up on the edge and see, we'll line that one up at the edge. We'll just line that one at the edge, and then we know our door will sit in the middle. Well, you'll want to get it so it's kind of on both. So let's start with our fence. And if you have the haunted house, you have a really rickety looking fence. And I did the exact same thing. Yeah, exact same thing, except I'll hold it up here in just a minute so you can see. The door's up a little bit more, and I have the fence more at the bottom, so you can, position it any way you want. This is a little bit bigger of a fence, so I'm going to put it all the way to the bottom and the door all the way to the bottom. Okay, for the windows, I like to use the ruler. Now, if you have a quilting ruler, this is really great to use with your, grab the clothespins. And it's going to hold it there, which is going to help me put my windows exactly where I want them. Again, there's no set spacing. I'm just eyeballing it about a ½ inch from the edge of the house. And you do want to leave room. Where's our buttons? Oh, I have to tell you, it's our little town's tomato days. We have a tomato days out here in Hooper because the holly's going over the top. And pretty soon we're going to have fireworks starting. So it's Wilbur's first time. Now my older dog, she's going to absolutely have a heart attack. So I definitely will not. And I hope that, I don't mean that literally. I don't want her to do that because they're really close. They're like in my backyard from the riding arena, the horses. So you'll probably hear them start, and that'll be that will be my cue to have to not film till they're done, because they're going to be so loud when they start. And just like that, we have the front of our house. Cute, isn't it? I love the Nauvoo. I love it better than Glossy Accents. So I'm going to have the holly above the door. I'm going to get into my buttons. I really want the smallest. There we go. We want the handle. I think we'll go red. Red. Now another thing that colors. There's a lot of different colors that you can do that would be fun, because this is a gingerbread house. Okay. And then we're going to go with a lot of noise. Because you want to kind of stay with the same sizes. Okay, definitely have a green. Clear. And the red. So let's get those put down. Or you can also use enamel dots. And the enamel dots, of course, did not come in the kit. And the buttons did, and they're really, really cute. I love the Nauvoo. We do have it in the store at countrycraftcreations.com. It never is clogged. I don't know what it is about this nozzle, but it's great. Pretty cute, I think. So let's leave our buttons out. Let's grab our box. It'll not fit really nice on there. Then one thing I want to do at the bottom, so let me show, and I will show you the haunted house also. This dome is that separate video that will follow. Here's the windows here. I use the orange button, and these are the buttons. Using the Nauvoo or your Glossy Accents will work great. Then for the base, I use the buttons as a walkway. I use the orange, gray, orange, and black. So let's grab some buttons, and let's see what all we have here. Now we definitely have a Christmas tree. It's going to go. I'm looking for a larger clear button. I think we'll go white. As my stepping stones to the door. Then we have Santa Claus. Now for him, I'm just gonna, he's quite a different shape. We're just gonna hold him here on the shingles for a moment. And if you have these button shank cutters, they're the most wonderful thing. You can get them at Joann's, Hobby Lobby, and in the fabric department. So now let's just, I'm going to have to tip this up and show you in just a moment. So I'm setting the tree out. There we go. That way you can see a little bit better. Christmas tree, I have that package. Then we have a snowman. And you can just kind of place things. There is a tall Santa. And then, of course, some snowflakes, different white ones. We got clear snowmen, so lots to play with. So let me go ahead and put these down, and I'm going to put this right up onto the fence of the house. And then I'll tilt it up for you to see. Little snowman, he's going to go on this side, somewhat on the fence. You can just see it come to life. Isn't it awesome? He might be an overnighter. Yeah. Actually, there we go. He's going to sit on the side pretty well. Now for up in here, I used the boo. The boo. There's the boo. You'll get a better view here in a minute. And then we've got, I had put the other little Halloween saying up. So let's see what we want to do on this one. You better not pout. And I will get the camera moved here so you can see exactly what I'm doing, and then I can show you the Halloween one. So Sorry, close your eyes for a minute while I adjust. And I chose the bell still rings for all who truly believe to put up here at the top. And we do want to mat that. So if you've got your scraps of white, brown, there it is. Now I'll just trim it up. Now fit this right on the edge of the house using my art glue. That thing's pretty sticky and I don't know why. We have a snowflake that'll look great. I don't know about that green. There we go. Red and then a really small dark green. There we go. And then inside here, if you want to add anything, and I did the boo on this one, and then the 2 buttons. You can, of course, add anything here you like. I'm going to do the no peeking. I'm going to leave mine just pretty much plain. One thing that I may get, and you can get them at Hobby Lobby, is the strings of these little mini Christmas lights. There is one in here. So hanging it there, I thought was cute, but it'd be really cute to get those from Hobby Lobby. So I will be getting those. Unfortunately, I don't have a distributor on those, so we're gonna pick those ones up at Hobby Lobby if you'd like to have those. And I'm going to do the buttons here at the end. Kind of seal that off where we put the edge just to make it look finished. And they're pretty close. Still have a few little buttons that you can play with. You may even want to put up here in your little peak. We already have a Santa, or he could really go inside there too. If you wanted another Santa. And you have others that you can of course use in the mini album. And we have the gold snowflake. So we're going to stick the gold snowflake in there with the no peeking. Let me grab the mini album that goes inside. And so this is the tutorial you'd already probably did on the mini album with the Happy Holidays we've already used. I need to check something really quick. On our button. Okay, on your buttons, you're going to need, I have to apologize. Apparently, we've got some different, wow. Okay, like that one's different. So, there may be, there may be some difference in your buttons. So, no big deal. They're pretty much the same, but it looks like the Variety Packs do have some different variations in them. Like there's a really cute ornament. I did not notice that. Thought I better check. And I looked at my book because they should be in there, but then our album's going to fit right inside of our box. Our house slides on. And there is our jingle gingerbread house, complete with our album. Great. It's ready. I've got one Christmas decoration done. And like I said, I didn't put a lot around here. You can, but where we take the lid on and off, I was really concerned that I'd be knocking it off all the time. And then this one's the white. Wink of Stella. So for instance, now I'll just go through. On each one, just adding a little bit of sparkle. Oh, kind of flipped when I took that lid off. Oh, it's splashing. Okay. I don't know if you can see that. right on those buttons. Like I said, I don't know if you can sometimes see the glimmer of the shine. Okay. And there we have our fun mini album houses. And here's our Halloween with the mini album in it also. Now the tutorial, remember, for your mini album, I did the Christmas, but then there's the absolute walkthrough to show you what I used on the Halloween. And I made it the exact same way, so you just have to mat through the pictures. And let me do this. Okay, the dome is a separate tutorial, and I'm going to do it in black, and I'm actually going to go ahead and put another one on this house so I don't rebuild it. And you'll be able to, or I'll do it just probably, maybe I'll just do it on Chipboard, and you'll be able to see how this is done. It's really simple, quick to put on, and a lot of fun. So don't throw away your strips because we need it for the house. And it just fits again right over the top. And there goes the camera. And we have 2 decorations done for the holidays. Yay! It's always fun to be ahead of the game. So thank you, everybody. And I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Before I do turn the camera off, I just want to make sure I am not forgetting, and I'm not. So thank you again, and I can't wait to see your finished projects. Make sure you show us on scrapbookersofcountrycraftcreations.com. No, I'm on Facebook, not .com. And thank you so much for joining me.